Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an episode of Career Mode. Goodness, we're back, and I think this is episode 20, I think we're at by now, so, we are coming up towards kind of the end of the season, we're at that last stretch of it. We've got a few games left, and these last few games is actually really important to, we've got to decide where we come in the league. We've still got the Europa League to see how that goes, so, this ending of the season is actually really important, and I feel as though if I don't come in 5th place, so if I don't come in 5th place and I don't win the Europa League, I can easily see myself getting fired from Liverpool. So I definitely feel as though I need to win at least get one of those objectives. I need to get at least 5th place or Europa League, and of course, if the best comes out of the best, then we manage to get both of those. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I had a game against Aston Villa. Aston Villa have a pretty good side, they don't have a lot of changes, my team, they've had quite a few changes, the likes of Aubameyang, Ogbonna there, the goalkeeper, we do have quite a few changes, whereas if you look towards Aston Villa, you've got a lot of familiar names, and I kind of expect that, especially throughout the first season, and I feel as though the longer this sort of career that I do with Liverpool goes on, the more interesting it's going to get, the more interesting, the transfers are going to be, who's going where, what sort of new players are the tits, all that sort of stuff, just to see how the entire game develops, not necessarily just Liverpool, but see how the other teams do. So, as you guys may have seen, this first season, Fulham have done absolutely unreal. I have no explanation why, they have a few good players on them. I believe Ruiz is actually carrying them really hard at the moment, he's put that backpack on, and he is carrying them to victory, and there is no doubt about it, he is actually a really good player. The most impressive thing about him, for me, in my opinion, is that his dribbling is so good. He is really good when it comes to just around the edge of the box, dribbling, weaving in and out of your defense, and then just shooting, because he has got a great shot and good finesse, but most importantly, like I was saying, his dribbling is really impressive. But enough talk about Fulham, as Aston Villa unfortunately take the lead there through Darren Bent, and I was really nervous after that, because this entire season, every time I've gone down, I just haven't been able to come back, I haven't been able to get the goals back again, so I was really nervous when this happened. As you can see, Aston Villa were all over my face, they were just completely smashing down on me, putting a few Hulk smashes in, and it just wasn't working out for me, I had to change something up, something needed to be done. Asaidi there, low on a bit of fitness, so he wasn't getting involved too much, but a 1-0 down, and that's always going to be pretty tough to come across, but there it is. Daniel Sturridge finds himself just a little bit of space, going back and forth around the edge of the box. He does really well to get him some space, and he left himself on his left foot there, and he's so lethal on his left foot, and that just made for an easy finish to make it 1-1. So at this point, I was pretty happy, we managed to take it down from 1-0. Like I was saying earlier, I really have struggled to come back, but they bring on Ogbonna and Bannon there, both really good players, and in fact, I am terrified of Ogbonna, but also Beneteke there. He is a really strong striker. That's what I struggled to really deal with throughout a lot of this game, and a few of the highlights you might see, he actually dominates me, and he just bullies my defenders time and time again. Fortunately for me, though, we end up going 2-1 through Daniel Sturridge again. He really has done a great job this game to come back, to put us back in the lead, and most importantly, 3 points. We do need these points, and it's just so important. Like I was saying, towards the end of this sort of season, we need those final points to get that 5th place spot. A 9.2 rating for the old chum that is Daniel Sturridge. He has just proven himself an actual beast. And Villa there is saying that he's feeling a little better. As you guys may or may not have seen, he was actually out injured for a little bit, so unfortunately for us, we haven't been able to play him, and Lucas Leiva has really stepped up to the plate. He's played well, but as with most players, after a little while, fitness will start to crunch down on him, and he was feeling pretty tired, so I was glad that Mvilla was back, but unfortunately, he still does have that little bandage thing around him, which means he won't be able to play the next game. I mean, you can play him, but I've said it time and time again, it's just not worth putting that risk, because if he does play, and he does get injured, he could be out for, a 3 months, just from this one game. So I just feel as though it's definitely not worth risking. And I had a game against Marseille. The very first leg went tremendously well. We battered them. We gave them the dick. We served up some of the sausage. There was no doubt about it. And they had to come over here and just try their best. That's literally all they could do, because they were in a really unfortunate position. I believe I won 4-1 last time. So I mean, it was going to be really tough for them, especially since I went 1-0 up at home in the 43rd minute there with Aubameyang, and that's 1-0. I don't believe I showed you guys the aggregate there, but it is a pretty nasty aggregate, and it didn't take long till Aubameyang there got his second goal of the game to make it 2-0, and by this point in the game, or at this point in the actual sort of entire 2 legs, there was just no way they can come back. I mean, Valbuena there just before that stroke at halftime does manage to pull one back, but it's just too far gone. I don't feel as though they have much of a chance anymore because of the 2 goals we had just scored at home and the battering we did give them away. Regardless, though, they did still put up a decent effort. They put in some decent balls. You know, they definitely had some chances. But like I said, you know, I was able just to control the tempo of the game, make sure things didn't get out of hand. And I just played safe football, really, just passing it around. And if any sort of opportunities came my way, then I, you know, gave them a shot. But it wasn't anything that I was too worried about. As you can see, one was floated in there, but it just wasn't enough. And Valbuena there, the goal scorer, does end up coming off for Kadir. And, you know, it was very unlikely that in the 82nd minute, he was going to make the difference, because at the end of the day, it was a 6-2 aggregate difference. I mean, that is pretty hefty. There's no 2 ways around it. That's a pretty hefty win, especially over both legs. So good there, good. We move on in the Europa League. That was one of my biggest things that I need to do this season. I want to bring some silverware back, and as you can see, we probably come up against, you know, as either Lazio there, or a Spurs or Benfica. So any of those teams could be a real threat to my Europa League campaign, and I really hope probably the best one to get out of them would be Lazio or Benfica. I'm not too keen on Spurs because they are doing well in the Premier League this season, so I'm a little bit nervous about them. As you can see, they're in 2nd place there with the game in hand, tied on points with Chelsea, so I feel as though they could definitely just take that 1st place spot easy peasy. Here are my objectives. Primary objectives is to qualify for the Champions League. That's a 4th place spot. You know how hard that is? That is going to be really tough to do. They actually projected that I'd come 14th, which is pretty crazy to me, but you know, if I can't see myself getting a 4th place spot, but if I do get 5th place, I'll be happy with that. And as you can see, the secondary objectives there were to win the Euro League and also to do well in the Domestic Cup. Unfortunately, I am out of the Domestic Cup, which is, yeah, you know, a bit of a shame. So we definitely have to just pull all of our efforts into the Premier League and the Europa League as well. So Southampton up next. You know, this was a team that I contemplated managing for a little while, and hopefully things work out at Liverpool for me, so I don't end up having to move jobs at the end of one season. But as you can see, you guys may have seen. Sorry, I can hardly speak today. As you guys may have been able to see, Gaston Ramirez was actually out injured, and that made me feel so much better. He is such a great player, and if you guys have the money to buy him, I recommend to do so. You know, if you're looking for that center forward role, Gaston Ramirez is certainly a player you guys should keep your eyes out on, because he is young, really good at, you know, he's got a long way to go, and I just feel as though you guys, if anyone's looking to pick up a player along those lines, then he is certainly one of them. And we come really close there to conceding. Fortunately, though, we didn't, and I actually get really confused because, you know, Liverpool's home colors are obviously red, and I just got really confused with the way Southampton were using red. I was using black, that whole thing. So a little bit confusing, but I still managed to deal with it. And unfortunately for him, Rodriguez, another really good player at Southampton, was unfortunately injured, and that means Rodriguez and Ramirez, they're both injured, and that is a huge letdown for Southampton. You know, they have got to be that's got to really put a big dent in their whole Premier League sort of campaign, and I hope they do well, because they are a good side and they are an interesting side to watch. They're in real life, and they also play good football on FIFA, so that's always good to see. But De Ridder there in the 65th minute manages to get a goal, and I was actually a little bit nervous because they went 1-0 up, you know, and my record at coming back hasn't been that great, despite me coming back against Aston Villa. I was just hoping for any sort of points against them. And unfortunately, it was Lucas Leiva there, my defensive mid, who had been filling in for Mvilla, unfortunately leads to an own goal, and I was really gutted with that. I really was, because, you know, he wasn't necessarily playing bad. It was just one of those things where you can't control it, and in all honesty, that is such a really poor goal to concede. But my god, Assaidi, you animal, did you guys see that run? He just completely ripped apart Southampton defense, and he just served up a huge bit of Willy sausage. So huge props to Assaidi for that. And as you can see, even late on in the game, we came really really close to pulling back an equalizer, but it just didn't look like it was going to be. It wasn't our day, and unfortunately we dropped 3 points there in Southampton. I guess you could say deservedly got the 3 points, but I felt as though that own goal was really unlucky. But sometimes that's just the way the FIFA cookie crumbles. So that's it for today, guys. If you could leave a like, that would be very much appreciated. I just want to say, guys, I really appreciate all my career mode fans. You guys are just the best. Seriously, they're so awesome. You guys are always leaving really cool comments, got all these awesome ideas, and I just want to say a huge thank you to you guys for that, because I just love putting out these videos, and to get a cool response and you guys sharing all the love in the comments is just always appreciated. So a big thanks for all of that sort of support, and I'll see you guys around. Bye bye.